Rodney and Traci, I love that every journey of recovery starts somewhere. And for you guys, your journey of recovery started long before you ever interacted with Pure Desire. And Rodney, of course, for you, that journey began as an individual. And then, of course, Traci, you getting woven into that, whether that was your choosing or not. And so we'd love for you guys just to take us back. Where did that journey begin? And maybe, Rodney, for you as an individual, and then Traci, where did you encounter that story of recovery?
Yeah, I've been on the podcast before. It's so great to be back here again, especially with Traci. But I'm gonna kind of truncate my story. But I was, never really had a healthy framework growing up to see my human sexuality as good and wonderful. Didn't have any framework to navigate the subject of masturbation, yet let alone pornography and all that effect of that. So in my journey of faith, prayers, confessions, scripture, all of that, I had what we know as a binge purge and was doing everything I could and kind of came to a place when I was 27 years old, married, couple kids. Lord, could you lead me to people and resources? I don't know what else to do. I was very desperate and doing all that I could do. And I went to a therapist. It was a sexual trauma assessment treatment therapist. And I told Traci, I'm going to a therapist. She said, oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. Told my pastor that in the church I was serving on staff with, hey, I'm going to go see a counselor. I'm getting some help. He said, that's great, Rod. I'm glad to hear that. No one asked me what for. And I was
Right.
like, okay, here we go. And so, again, just leaning in. I guess they were on a need to know basis at that
Mm.
time. And so, anyway, got into that. 6 months into that, it was time to disclose with Traci that I was in there for sexual addiction, pornography. And so my therapist said, just really kindly, hey, when you tell Traci, give her a little time and space. Now, we believe disclosure happens a lot differently. Again, this was almost 30 years ago, so we just did the best we could with what we got handed. But the night in October that I revealed that to Traci, I felt a sense of nervousness, and I was timid, like every addict is, who's going to come forth to their spouse about this. And so my coming forth was a little bit of nervousness on my end, and freedom to finally get it out there was just crushing to her. And so that night was a very dark night for both of us in many, many ways. And so that was that first week of October back in 97 is when that happened,
I
28
say,
years.
can you zoom into that night? Like, Rodney, how did you deliver that message? And then Traci would love to hear your side of the story of how you received that. Like, let's sit in that night. Take us into the night.
Well, I know that Rodney had had a counseling session that day and asked me, I was meeting with our youth girls, and he asked me if later tonight we could talk. He had something to share with me, and my mind was going all the things. Work is a struggle. It's, whatever. Tired of being a youth pastor. I don't know. That kind of that blocking, but knowing there's something big here. So I remember after the girls went home, just sitting in the rocking chair with our 9-month-old, nursing, putting him to bed very slowly. Like, I don't know what's coming, but I can feel it inside of me.
Mm.
And then I went in the room with Rodney, and he shared, I have had a sexual addiction. And I didn't even really know what that was. So I asked him a little bit about that. And then I went and jumped in his car and drove away. And because I'm like, I need space. That was my first boundary. I'm going to go have space for me to feel
That was her
safe.
safety plan. Get as far away from Rodney as I can right now with 3 kids still at the house.
And I
Well,
assume you had put the 9 month down for bed. Like, all the kids are in bed,
oh
just you
yeah,
guys
all
up.
the kids are in
Maybe
bed.
10 o'clock at night.
It's just us talking. Yeah, it's late at night. And he did say what he just said with the counselor, like, I know this is going to take you time. And I said, I don't want time. I want a new life. Like, my first reaction was, redo. I don't want this to be part of my story. So I took off just very flooded, obviously emotionally flooded, went and just prayed and thought. And I found Rodney's journal in there from working with his counselor, because he had been with his counselor that day. And I read through some of it, and I knew this was really bad and really serious. No more thinking, oh, he had a lustful thought probably that he needs to deal with, right? That I would normally think. And so I do want to validate, because I work with spouses all the time, and we're like really hard on ourselves sometimes. How did I miss that? How did I not see that? How did I trust him so much? it's a really, really normal part because it's an important part of having a marriage, and a marriage based on commitment and faith. We want everything in us wants to believe these things, and we protect ourselves in some ways. So if someone out there is listening and they felt like that, like, how did I miss all these signs or whatever, even if whether they were huge signs or little signs, I want to validate that that's a really normal part of almost everyone's process, that we would miss some things. So I came back and I threw clothes very quickly into a suitcase with no idea of how long I was going to be gone. But that was this is not okay. Don't know what to do next. And I asked Rodney to bring the kids. He said, I can take them. I'm like, nope, I want the kids with me. And he helped me carry the kids out to the car. And I drove late at night to Seattle, where my family was, and parents and sister.
I mean, and Traci, as I'm sitting with this, I mean, like, the kids were in bed. So you guys are waking up kids. You're loading kids into a car. It's now probably 11 or midnight, and you're taking off in the middle of the night.
Yep. Wow. They have a memory of that now slightly, but we were going to Grandpa and Grandma's, so it wasn't, that it needed to be super startling, other than gently we're carrying them the car, and I'm taking off, and I don't know what's next. And then I'm with my family for a few days. And Rodney, you could talk about what you did that night for support.
Yeah, I just remember Traci saying the words, "You've broken my trust. My parents and family has that now," as she was taking off. And so I just want to say, I think her pain and her all of that is so valid and so real. And I appreciate Traci's authenticity. I didn't see it as a gift that night, but I do now, because I think, our honesty is what creates healthier relationships. And so Traci was just honest about this pain. And here again, this is just, we do the best we can with what we know, trying to share her story before I got married to her. I'm not a virgin. Here's my sexual history. Didn't think anything about pornography, because in my theology, I had that deliverance mindset. You go to an altar, God frees you if you confess. So I thought I was delivered and had 30, 60 days of sobriety. That problem's gone, not knowing this binge purge was continuing on. So this is where my faith wasn't always helpful.
The other piece I was thinking about that, because working with partners a lot too, is that understanding that for Rodney, he had this journey before me of trying to get help, and of hiding, and what that looks like as both of us pastors' kids, right? He had this journey of trying to be open, not knowing how, hiding this. Then I come into the picture. Often there's this will go away with marriage. Now I have a sexual outlet and a partner that I'm attracted to. It'll go away, and it doesn't go away. So that's part of his story, and it's a pretty common thing. And then now what do I do with this? And now, so he's trying to stop this, so I don't have to tell Traci, right? This is going to shatter her, or whatever his 20, something mind was thinking.
Yeah.
And so he got to that point where he was like, this isn't going away. And all the faith things I'm trying to do, confess to my brother and dad, right? Not going away. I need the help of a therapist who helped him disclose to me, which was really the right thing to do. But we don't always know, what do I do with this, and how do I even do that?
Well, and just to restate it, you were both pastors' kids. At the time, Rodney, you were Pastor Rodney, sitting down with the pastor's wife in your guys' home at 10 p.m. Like, not only is this, blowing up just your relationship, but I mean, again, faith, there's so much complexity here. And I know you guys have talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not just, oh my gosh, like, how can I trust Rodney? It's also like our entire life. I like how you said that, Traci. Like, I want to redo. Like, I don't want this to be a part of my life at all. I want to redo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Traci was just thinking, can I trade this one in for the upgraded model, please? If there was trade-in, she would have been willing to do it. And I think just her authenticity was like, she delighted herself in the Lord, and the Lord let her marry a pervert. And so she was not just mad at me, she was mad at the divine, because she had trusted that if she did this, this, and this, life was going to turn out like this, this, and this. And it didn't. And so not only was she just so devastated by my betrayal, but she was devastated by a faith box that God no longer fitted any longer, if that makes sense.